All right, let's get to the skin. Let's get to this integumentary system. The skin being the main organ of the integumentary system as such. So when you look at it, uh, it is an organ, or you could think of it as a whole thing as an organ system. It is the largest. It does cover about 15 to 20 square feet, which is like 1.5 to 2 square meters or square yards, think of it like that. It is for protection. Your skin protects you. It is a barrier. It separates the inside from the outside. It keeps the magic red liquid in, doesn't let the bad things, in. So it's a mechanical protection. It protects you from chemicals. Uh, Anything that you might spill on your skin does not get into you. Uh, it protects you from bacteria. Two things in this old world trying to get you: bacteria and fungi. They're trying to break you down and eat you, and your skin protects you from that. You do have bacteria living on your skin. You need bacteria. They're there for a purpose and such, but they are to stay on the outside is where they belong. So uh, it protects you from sunlight. Sunlight is not bad. Too much of anything is bad. So there are certain uh, waves of energy, certain energy profiles that come in through the light, and your skin protects you from that. But it also uses that to make a very important substance that you need, vitamin D. So it does protect you from drying out. Desiccation is drying out. One of the problems with burn victims is the loss of fluids. So desiccation is very important. That's why your outer skin actually has a protective waxy protein built into it that prevents the water from getting out, from desiccating. Your skin helps maintain your body temperature. You have a set point. An area in your hypothalamus of your brain sets that set point, and it can change it up and down, but it usually sets it on average 98.6, which is 37 Celsius on average. And so if you go above that, your skin does things. If you go below that, your skin does things. So if your temperature gets too high, that's what that means, you sweat. If your temperature gets too low, then your erector pili muscles will actually contract and cause the hair to stand up, hopefully trapping a little bit more thicker layer of warmer air near the surface of the skin and all. So you do excrete things. You sweat. And in that sweat, it's not just water, but it's also the sodium, the potassium and such, sometimes ammonia. It keeps those. If you have too much, it loses them through one way. That's not the main way, but one way through this excretion. But you do lose fluid from that. Um, uh, you have not just sweat glands, which are known as sediferous glands or eccrine sweat glands. You have oil glands called sebaceous glands. You have other types of glands, wax glands and all. So you have one type that secretes odors, known as an apocrine gland. For feeling, for interacting with your outside world. That's the main thing. For the light touch in areas and in structures that you touch things. So you use your fingers and your toes to touch things. You have these specialized little receptors known as Meissner's corpuscles, and they're kind of within that dermis of the skin, and it allows you for fine discriminating touch. You have other ones that are a little bit deeper in your dermis, and they're in areas where you're going to come into contact or things pushing on you, so they're for pressure, and those are known as Pacinian corpuscles. But you can feel things running across through your skin and such. So those Pacinians are for the pressure. Some things when you feel them, you don't really know what's pushing on you, just know something's pushing on you. You do have nerve endings that are they're for temperatures between like 50 Fahrenheit to 105 or 107 Fahrenheit, somewhere around in there. I don't know the exact numbers. And that's where you can generally sense temperature differences. You go too low and you just sense pain. You go too high and you just sense pain. So you can discriminate against warm and hot, but if you go really cold, then you don't sense that. You just sense pain. Go really hot, you don't sense that. You just sense pain. So, and pain is your body's way of saying stop before you damage the tissue. Like I mentioned earlier, you do use your skin to activate the vitamin D. So vitamin D, it's done in the intestines, in the skin, and in the liver. So it's a multi-step process. You need vitamin D to absorb calcium. So you can eat all the foods with all the calcium, but if you don't have the right amount of vitamin D, you can't absorb the calcium. So you need vitamin D. It's very important, but in your skin, you get a precursor in inactive form produced within the gut. It travels through the bloodstream to the skin, and in the skin, the sunlight then activates or converts it, and then it goes back to the liver, and the liver utilizes it and turns it on. So, and a big thing with the skin is communicating. We have a extremely expressive face. We have this ability to communicate without speaking. Us and other primates are able to do this. We do have a spoken language and we do have a written language and all, but we do a lot of communication through facial expressions. And so that's a form of nonverbal communication. Looking at the skin, there are layers. There's the epidermis. EPI, epi means upon. So the skin is the dermis. And then you have that which is below, the hypodermis. So looking at the epidermis is composed of this stratified squamous epithelium. And depending upon where you are at, it's either 4 layers or 5 layers. In most of your skin, it's 4 layers. On where you have very thick skin, your palms and your soles, it's 5 layers. The upper layers, which means multiple layers, the upper layers are filled with that waxy protein we mentioned, keratin. So we call it keratinized epithelium. The lower layers are actually living cells that are undergoing mitosis, and so they don't have the keratin. Your skin, your epidermis, from the beginning to being sloughed off is about 30 to 40 days. So the 5 identifiable layers, starting from the bottom, working our way out. So we use the word stratum. That means the layer. And then basal or basal, that's the bottom. That's the basement. This is a single layer of cells. They're actually cuboidal in shape. They're sitting on the basement membrane, and they're the closest to the capillaries in the dermis, so they get the most nutrition and oxygen, which allows them or enables them to undergo continuous mitosis. So they're constantly replicating, constantly splitting and such. And so that causes them to, as they do this, you can't go down because of that basement membrane. So they're always pushing upwards, pushing the cells up and out. That basement membrane, it doesn't go below that. The next layer, so you count the first cell, then the second cell is you're in this layer, the stratum spinosum, and it's multiple cells, multiple layers right there. They are still near the capillaries, but they're moving away, so the rate of mitosis is less. As they're being pushed, they're losing the nutrients, losing the water. They're being squished. It causes them to start to crenate, to sink in, and you'll see little spike-like projections. Spinosum. That's how that gets its name. So you can take the stratum basal and you can take the stratum spinosum, and you can put those together, and that's known as the germinum tivum, because those 2 layers are the layers of mitosis. The next layer is the granulosum. The cells are getting squeezed. The cytoplasm is becoming grainy. They're starting to die. They're becoming keratinized, and they just look grainy and all. So some might, if you read the book, I don't know if your book or other books will refer to these cells as keratinocytes, skin cells, keratinocytes. So I don't think I'll do that to you. Now, only in thick skin do you see this lucidum, and this is a thin translucent band, and it's only in thick skin. So when you look at your calluses of your hands or on the thickness, the thick layers of the soles of your feet and all, that skin will have the lucidum. You go to the back of your hand or the top of your foot, that's very thin skin, it will not have that layer. So, but it's just an extra layer. It's not really that thick. And then the outermost, the thickest layer of all of this is the corneum, the stratum corneum. Cornification, that means horn, like a goat horn, like a deer, not a deer antler, but a cow horn, a goat horn. You think of it, it's corneum, and also this is the majority thickness of your skin is due to this corneum right here. So many cells thick, very dead, full of wax. This is the water resistant layer. Okay, so this is the one that protects you. This gives you the greatest protection against things. So your skin is a wonderful barrier. You don't need to add to it to protect yourself from anything unless it's extremely harsh chemicals. Because some things can be absorbed, they call it a transdermal absorption. So some chemicals, yes. The majority of things you deal with in your everyday life, no. Okay, so from the beginning to the end, like I said, 30 to 40 days. If you don't like your skin today, give it a month, you'll get new skin, and then you can complain. So they flake off. Where do they go? Everywhere. The majority of them are in your bed sheets and in your pillowcases. And if you're not changing your linens weekly, you're doing yourself a disservice. They're in your carpet, they're in your floor. It's the dust, and so there are actually little bugs out there, these dust mites that actually eat it up, and they actually use that. Otherwise, you'd be wading through a sea of skin cells. That's kind of gross. So, all right, we'll stop right there.